Okay, so I know that I said Vultures 2 was my pick for like the worst album of the year. That's what I titled the video. It has about 2,000 views now, and I know some people disagreed, some people agreed. I don't think that's going to be the consensus on this one. I think we all know How the Frick Is This a Mixtape is probably the worst album to drop this year. Um, this was kind of like a double header for me, like in terms of like, apologies if you hear my phone, for like album drop wise, because I had an album that I was excited for in the Tommy Richmond album, and then I had an album that I wasn't excited for in this album. I also find it to be extremely convenient that Future drops his album, like Pluto, like mixtape Pluto, or yeah, that's what it's called, and then Dababy starts marketing his album as a mixtape. Very interesting. Very convenient timing. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's a convenience at all. I don't think it's a convenience. This album just plumb out doesn't sound good. And you want to know something funny? I've been a person who is always like, Dababy, he isn't that bad. He just needs different direction. And I know a lot of people had the problem with him. He never switched up his flow. I was able to look past that for a while because his music was fun. You know, it was something fresh for the time it was new and popular. And DaBaby was in like my top 10 like favorite rappers for a little bit until about like what was his like the last project that he dropped where people actually found it like no one really liked it, but was it Blame It on Baby? Blame It on Baby. It's kind of crazy if you look at the trajectory of that album compared to who he is now. I feel like everyone kind of knew DaBaby was going to go downhill at some point because of his, like, the quality of his music just seemed to be downgrading. A lot of people, really like Rockstar. That was his last huge song. That was a number one on Billboard song, I'm pretty sure. I think it was, wasn't it? I know it's Diamond now, I'm pretty sure. So it's crazy knowing that he has a Diamond record and, nothing to really show for it now. Like if you show someone who had no idea who DaBaby was and you play them his current music, it just, you wouldn't guess that. And it's kind of sad to see because I have been someone that blames his production for this a lot. I feel like his beat choices after he started to fall off were horrendous, and I also think that's because no one wants to work with him. That is actually like a talented producer, but come on now. I mean, surely you can find someone to collaborate with. And I know like the biggest downfall, this wasn't the reason for his downfall in the quality of music, but this is the reason like he got quote unquote canceled is because he like said all that stuff on stage. However, I'm not going to blame that on his music not being as successful. That is his fault. He can't blame it on that either. His music, if you listen to it now and how it was back then, it is noticeably way, way worse. His lyrics are worse. His, honestly, like everything, down to the delivery, even the flow just isn't the same. I do think the flow is mostly just because we had too much of it, and now whenever we hear it, it's just like, oh, this is just, it's DaBaby. And like it's so horrendous. Every once in a while, I'll notice he's dropped something, and I'll just see if it's any different. It's just not good. His whole dissing on Megan Thee Stallion, like trying to get popular again. He dropped Baby on Baby 2. Was that what his like with the Grinch on it? Literally, I don't even like that was just awful. No features, awful tape, awful. Literally just horrendous. And a lot of the noticeable bad things about his music are on here. There isn't really any good looks. Every song sounds the exact same. A lot of noticeably bad mixing. And DaBaby has a lot of money. I will never understand why these big time rappers that have access to what they have access to, even someone who, like DaBaby, doesn't have the same tools he had back when he was popping, you still have access to drop music that is not this bad mixed. that is something I will never get past. That's like kindergartner stuff. A millionaire like Dababy, with the catalog he has, with the tools he has access to, should be able to drop a well mixed project, and he doesn't. That, I think that's really weird. Whole thing feels rushed. Repeat use of bars, like the like how to rapping about how he's got canceled, or rapping about how he's still the best. Like, bro, we don't care anymore. You're not relevant no more. No one really cares about that. And even if they did, you act like it's not your fault. I remember whenever he was on that Jail Part 2 with Kanye and Marilyn Manson, and he kind of used that as a rapping point that people canceled him, and it messed up him able to put like food on his daughter's table. Which, first of all, actually, I'm gonna give him some credit. That verse is actually kind of good, but I shouldn't say that. It's not bad. I'd have to re-listen to it. I haven't heard it in a while, so it might be better or worse than what I'm remembering. However, I think that is so stupid because it's your fault. You said those stupid things on stage, and it's your fault your music has gotten worse. I mean, if you was really about this music stuff, you would have made sure the quality was better. It's just this I'm not going to call it a mixtape. This album, it's just not good. It sounds bad. It's mixed bad. It sold bad. It only sold 9,000 copies, and this, I'm pretty sure, like, his, like, Blame It On Baby dropped, like, I don't remember how much it sold. I'm pretty sure it was over at, like, 100K. I think it went number one, because, I mean, it was huge. It had, like, a lot of people tuned into it to listen to it. You know, Rockstar was it. Oh, my God, I dropped my thing. But Rockstar was a huge song. Like, humongous. And we'll never see that version of Dababy again. And that's crazy. Like, this album, if I was him, I would quit dropping music. To be completely honest with you, if it's going to continuously be like this, just stop. You're digging yourself in a bigger hole. Publicly, musically, like your music reputation, he keeps on, it keeps on getting worse. This album, overall, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard. I don't remember what I gave Vultures to. I need to regrade that. I actually really don't remember what I gave that, because that was a while ago. I feel like I was a lot like harder on it than I should have been. But I still think it's one of the worst things this year. Overall, I'd give this like a 3 out of 10. Actually, you know what? I don't know why it's a 3. This is like this is a 1. This is a 1 out of 10. I don't know why my note says 3. I must have been feeling gracious that day. This is the worst thing I've heard this year. This is probably the worst thing I've heard this year and last. This might just be the worst album I've ever heard. Actually, I'm not going to say that, because I've heard some pretty bad albums. I've heard that September's Rich album. That's also one of the worst things I've heard this year. Anyway, that's an end of the year list that I might do if y'all want to see it. But anyway, this album sucks. And don't go listen to it, honestly. If you like this video, then obviously, like, subscribe, and do that stuff. However, if you want to show some more support, you can join the Patreon, where I upload once a month, or you can check out the merch. You can listen to my albums on Spotify or my music. You know, you might think they're better than Dababy, which would be a crazy thing. I'd say that. I'd walk around saying that. People say my music's better than Dababy's music. But honestly, that ain't even too high of a bar, so I might not even be that happy. But anyway, if you want to show extra support, go show that stuff. I hope y'all having a good day. I love y'all.